The wind rolled across the open plains like a living thing, low and relentless, dragging the cold with it as dusk bled into night. The ranch stood alone against the horizon, weathered wood darkened by years of sun and storm, its fences stretching endlessly like tired sentinels. Elias Crow hadn't spoken a word in nearly a decade, not since the winter that took everything from him. He moved through life with the quiet discipline of a man who had learned that words did nothing to stop loss. Every evening followed the same rhythm: check the horses, secure the barn, lock the house, light the lamp, sit in silence. Tonight should have been no different. Yet as he reached the edge of the corral, a sound cut through the wind, soft, almost swallowed by the cold. A voice, small, fragile. "Sir, can I slip under your coat?" Elias froze. The lantern in his hand trembled slightly, casting wild shadows across the ground. He turned slowly, his breath catching as the light revealed a thin girl standing near the fence, no older than 9, her hair tangled by wind, her dress far too light for the biting cold. Her hands were red, shaking, clutching nothing but the night air. She wasn't crying. That was what struck him most. Children who cried expected saving. This one had already learned not to. The question echoed in his mind, tearing open doors he had sealed shut years ago. Another winter, another child, another coat that hadn't been enough. Elias dropped to one knee without thinking, the movement stiff, unfamiliar. He opened his coat wide, not a word spoken, and the girl stepped closer, hesitating only a moment before pressing against him like a sparrow seeking shelter. She was ice cold. His jaw tightened as memory flooded in. His own daughter's last night. Her breath shallow beneath his coat, the storm too fierce, the help too late. The girl beneath his coat now whispered a quiet "thank you," and that single word shattered something inside him. Elias wrapped the coat tighter, lifting her gently, feeling how light she was, how dangerously light. He carried her toward the house, every step a war between fear and hope. Inside, the fire roared to life, warmth filling the room as the girl finally shivered in earnest, the cold losing its grip. Elias set her near the hearth, draped blankets over her, and poured warm broth with hands that still shook. She told her story in pieces: no parents, a broken wagon, days of walking, following the fence lines because they led somewhere. Elias listened in silence, but something in his eyes changed. The house that had been a tomb of memory felt different now. The night passed slowly, the wind howling outside, but inside, for the first time in years, Elias Crow stayed awake not because of ghosts, but because someone needed him. If this story touched you, if you believe in quiet heroes and second chances, subscribe to the channel and stay with us, because this is only the beginning. Morning came pale and cold, sunlight spilling across the ranch like a cautious promise. Elias stood by the window, watching the girl sleep near the fire, her face finally relaxed, color returning to her cheeks. He hadn't slept. Every creak of the house, every shift of the wind had pulled him back to the past. Yet none of it chased him away this time. When the girl stirred, she sat up quickly, fear flashing across her eyes until she saw him. "I didn't steal anything," she said at once. Elias swallowed hard and shook his head slowly. He placed a bowl of porridge in her hands and gestured for her to eat. She did carefully, like someone used to food disappearing. As the day unfolded, Elias showed her the ranch, the horses, the barn warmed by animals and hay. Her name was Lila. She talked enough for both of them, filling the air with observations, questions, wonder. Elias found himself listening, not with his ears alone, but with parts of himself long buried. The townsfolk arrived by afternoon, alerted by Elias's signal flare from the ridge. Whispers spread quickly. The silent rancher with a child at his side. Some offered help, others offered suspicion. Elias stood firm. When the sheriff asked questions, Elias met his gaze and nodded once, a promise more powerful than any speech. That night, as Lila slept in a real bed for the first time in weeks, Elias sat at the table, finally writing a single sentence on a piece of paper, the first words he'd written since the storm years ago. "She can stay." The wind still howled outside, the world still cruel and uncertain, but inside that ranch something had changed. Elias Crow had thought silence was his punishment. He was wrong. It had been his preparation, and now, in the quiet glow of a second chance, he understood that sometimes salvation doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the cold, asking only for warmth. If this story moved you, if you believe even broken people can become shelter for others, subscribe to the channel, like and share, because the stories that matter most are the ones that remind us what it means to be human.